Hello, my name is Eugene. I'm going to be showing you how to build a Google Sheet of individual conversions that automatically updates 3 times a day. The reason why you might want this is because on your dashboard you may not be able to create a report that auto does this for you, that auto generates at that rate. So this is why we're making a Google Sheet. Before we get into it, I'll quickly explain what an API does. An API does the exact same thing as you when you come onto your dashboard and you click on generate report and you click on individual conversions. The only difference is that it does this via code. This is helpful for engineers and developers who want to do something special with the data. And for this video, that is us, because what we're doing is we're auto opening it in a Google Sheet. So that's what we're going to get going today. So when you're in your dashboard and you want to generate a report like this, what you do is you click individual conversions. We're going to do the equivalent in an API that opens it in a Google Sheet. So this is the API page. You're going to get a token from a Podscribe team member. After that, you come to this page. You then type in the parameters that you would like. And these parameters are nothing more than the settings that you can have on your dashboard here. If I want to change the attribution window from 30 days to 60 days, I can do that from here by going to this attribution window parameter and typing in 60. There are a whole bunch of defaults for all of these parameters, so make sure you get the one that you, make sure you set the parameters that you would like to have your report to have by default every time it runs. Once you've set the token in, and once you've written in the advertiser, you can click on this API request, and this will pop up. This 200 means that things went to plan, and a pending status means that it is loading and it is generating this CSV. If you click it again, you will notice that the status has changed to done. And there's this long URL. If you take this long URL and you copy it and you paste it into your browser, it'll auto download the CSV for you. And as you can see here, the CSV is completely blank because we can't show client data, but that's when you do it with your own token, that's how it would look. It would be full. So what we're going to do is basically go through the exact same process, except make our code do the work for us instead of us having to come here, type in those details, click send API request, and then open the file. So here's what we're going to do. The first step, let me look at my notes. The first step is to copy the code. I will make this available somewhere, either GitHub or a Google Doc. You just need to copy this code, and then you're going to open a new Google Sheet, like so. And then you come to the extension place here, click on AppScript, and this will open up looks like it didn't open it up. Here. Okay, so this will open up the AppScript. AppScripts are basically this cool thing from Google that lets you connect different Google Drive platforms with each other. So if I can connect Google Sheets with Google Docs, with Google Drive, with Google Forms. And that's what AppScript does. So we have a new AppScript. What we're going to do is take that code that we've copied and paste it in here. Here's the code. Copy, paste. You don't really need to know what it does. You just need to know how to use it. So once you've copied it and pasted it in here, you have to edit these two things. So one is to type the URL in here. And the URL is not the URL that we got from here. The URL is the URL that the script will call every time it wants to get the download. And to develop that, you actually ignore this part and you come down here, click on shell curl, and then there's a URL. There's a URL right over here that is long that you copy. And that is the URL that you paste here. Notice one thing about it. It says the details of the parameters that you've typed in the URL itself. And this is how you edit things. So yeah, if you have multiple advertisers, then you would change the advertiser name here so that if you were making a page for Nike, for example, you type in Nike, and then you will see that the URL will have changed to Nike. So that's what that advertiser parameters for, and then this means exclude prior visitors. Once again, there are a whole bunch of defaults, but if you set the numbers and the parameters to be something other than the default, then it will automatically be added to the URL that calls this particular endpoint. So that's what that URL is for. Hope that made sense. Token is the API token. This you will have gotten from a Podscribe team member. Let me also say quickly one thing about this is that if you are an agency or a publisher and you are making a sheet for your client, and your client is Nike, and that is the name here, you cannot simply create this GSheet and then send it to them, because if they're smart enough, they will have your token here, and they will have access to all of your data for all of your advertisers, as long as they know that they can change this from this advertiser name from theirs to another client of yours. So the way you get around this is by using import range on another sheet, on a third sheet, and that way they cannot access your data. Feel free to reach out to Podscribe to make sure, to double check that and to make sure that you've understood that. Okay, so we have copied the URL, we have copied the token. The next step is kind of simple. We deploy it. So you click deploy, new deployment. It'll ask you for your permission. So you select type, web app, execute as me who has access. I'll do anyone within Potable. And then deploy. You authorize access. And then you're done that part. Now that you've done that part, you come here, you click on download and populate CSV, and you click run. It'll ask you for permission again, just give it permission. Wow. And it'll run. Now, it'll take, oh, that was quick. Okay, yeah, look, it's already filled in. As I mentioned earlier, it's a blank CSV that we've just downloaded here because I'm using a fake advertiser. It's actually the wrong advertiser. Adidas is not our client, so we've just brought in the headers, but if there were real data and a real client, then this would all be filled in. But okay, let me say, so we've run this function, download and populate CSV. The GSheet has now been filled. What we need to do next is add something to the menu bar here. Clients and other people don't like looking at code because it's technical and intimidating. So what we're going to do is make that a bit easier by adding a little bar that says Podscribe and then letting them click that to run this instead of doing it themselves and coming here. So you're going to, once you have confirmed that the spreadsheet is loading, you're going to come here, click on add refresher to menu bar, and then click on run. Once it says it's completed, if you come back, you'll notice that this is here and you can click resync. And resync will rerun this function called download and populate CSV. It'll, in essence, call this function again and pull in any new data that has come in. Now, if I were to close this and open it up again, this menu item will have disappeared, which is what we don't want. So how do we get this to run every time someone opens up this spreadsheet? We can use something called triggers to do that. You click on triggers, click on add trigger, add refresher to menu bar, head, that's good, from spreadsheet, that's good, on open. So anytime someone opens the spreadsheet, this function will run. Notify me. This is, this will notify you. This will send you an email once a day if it notices that it's not running correctly. So you click save. And now, whenever someone, let me see, I'm going to close this and open it up again, and we'll see if Podscribe pops back. I'm going to leave page. So if we open this up, it's not there, but then it shows up. And that's because it takes a few seconds for it to load. So perfect. Now, when your client wants the latest in data, they can just click on Podscribe and click on resync. It'll run the script, and in a few minutes, it'll be ready. Okay, that's how we do that. The second script that we're going to set up is the one that'll make this auto update 3 times a day. To do that, it's very similar. You go to triggers, add trigger. This time it'll be download and populate CSV. It'll be time driven, and it'll be, no, that's not it. Let's do hourly. So every 6 hours, 6, 12, 18, 24. 8 hours is once 3 times a day, 8, 16, 24, and then failure notifications, leave that on, and then save. So now it'll run every 8 hours, it'll run that function that'll refresh the data. But if someone wants the latest in data, they can always come here and click on Podscribe and resync. That in essence is how you, you set this up. And if you're in the app script folder here and you're editing your code and you make an edit, you just click on Command S or Control S, and that'll save this data. Before we end this, I just wanted to point out one thing. This should be 60, not 10. So I'll go through the code quickly. This is the URL and the token that you know of. All of these steps basically do what we did, where we're in this UI here. You click on Send API Request, and it generates this ID. The only difference is that instead of waiting here and clicking on this over and over and over again until it's ready, there's a specific endpoint that you can use instead called File Processor. And what the API does, what our code does is it pastes it into here and then sends the API. And only once it's ready will it generate the CSV. So that particular part of the code here sends the ID that is generated to this endpoint. Problem is sometimes files are super big, and so they're not ready in 30 milliseconds like this one was. Sometimes they take 1 minute or 5 minutes. So what this is set up to do instead is to wait every time it sends in a request. So it's as if it's clicking on this once, it'll see that the status is pending, it'll wait 10 seconds, it'll click on it again. Now, if your client has a lot of data, then, so 10 seconds is equal to 10,000 here, but if your client has a lot of data, it might be a lot better to make it 60,000 for 60 seconds, or even 600,000. No, that's too much. 120,000, which would be like 1.5 minutes. The reason being is that the way it's set up is that it will knock on the API's door 10 times to see if the download is ready. And if after 10 times it is not ready, it'll just give up. So that's the reason why it's helpful to set a time frame that is reasonable. Most downloads are ready within 5 minutes. I've never seen a download take longer than 2 minutes to generate, but in theory, it can take up to an hour. So 120 should be more than enough. I think 60,000 would be ideal. Yeah. 10,000 means 10 seconds. 60,000 means 60 seconds before it tries again. All right, anything else? No, that's basically it. Thanks for watching.